My name is Paul Turner and I'm a GP in Edgbaston. I'm the clinical lead for this project. As a GP in an inner city practice, I'm aware of the significant needs that there are out there and the gaps of service provision for a group of people who have particularly complex psychological, social and emotional needs, who often don't meet the threshold for specialist services, but nevertheless whose problems are hugely debilitating. We don't currently have the resources in primary care to meet a lot of these needs, and as a result, patients and their doctors can often feel disempowered. The concept of the Wellbeing Hub had been germinating for many years out of a realisation that there are many statutory and voluntary services who are doing a fantastic job but working in isolation. And most GPs weren't even aware of their existence. We realised that if we could bring all these services together into a hub with a central referral system that was easy for patients and GPs to access, then we could potentially create something really quite special. Patients and their GPs can at times feel lost trying to navigate their way through the system, meeting obstacles such as you're too old, you're too young, you don't meet our criteria, you can't self-refer. It was therefore important that children, adults and older people could all access the Wellbeing Hub, either through GP or self-referral. Our ethos was, you've come to the right place. What we've achieved so far is a testament to great teamwork and to an idea made possible by innovative clinical commissioning. Take the story of Jean.
Wow, I'm feeling a lot more happy now, and I'm just so glad that I got help. This is how it was for me. I was torn this way and that way, and I wasn't really sure which way to go. I was depressed, feeling down, had worry and stress, and it was just too difficult for me. Had a bad relationship, lost contact with my family, had emotional problems. I had financial problems and marriage breakdown. And my credit card was stopped and I was overdrawn. I found a job, but it was just too stressful. So I went to see my doctor. Doctor, I'm just in so much stress and I just have so many problems that I don't think I can cope anymore.
It sounds like you've had a really difficult time lately and you've got some very complicated things going on in your life. What I'd like to do is get someone from the Wellbeing Hub to call you up.
Hello, I'm calling from the Wellbeing Hub.
Hi, thanks for calling me. I've just got a lot on my mind.
Okay, I think listening and guidance will really be of help for you. I think Annie's in your area. I'll get her to give you a call and maybe you could make an appointment to see her.
Okay, thanks so much.
What's brought you to counselling today?
First appointment with Anne, I was just in such a need. I was in debt, I was afraid, and I just felt lost. I didn't know which way to turn, and I was just in constant pain.
Sounds like things have been quite hard for you. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what's been going on for you?
Listening and guidance was helpful in having a chat to someone who listened to me. It became easier to share my problems to someone impartial. I was still having pain on occasion from my ex-husband. Sometimes it felt like a stabbing pain from flashback memories, reminding me of all the hurt. But life's getting a bit easier now.
It feels as if you've got a lot more control of your life now.
Over several visits, the pain was relieved each time I shared my hurt. I'm able to take more control over the money situation. At last I have some more money to spend on myself. I'm not thinking too much of the future now. I'm in the right place to live day by day, and I've become more social and mixed with others. Since coming 10 months to listening and guidance, I'm being helped and feel much more relieved now. I've still got such a long way to go. I'm looking after myself more and more than I was before.
It was the regular 6-month review, going to see the GP. Because I'd been diagnosed epileptic by that stage, it was a regular 6-month checkup. And he kept asking the same questions really, because the amount of seizures that I was having wasn't decreasing. If anything, they were becoming more frequent. And he was going down the route of it being photosensitive epilepsy, the traditional route, which I didn't think it was. He knew my situation, but I tried to get over to him just how stressful it was being in the hostel, and described to him some of the situations at the hostel, some of the regular day occurrences that happened, the people that you bumped into, the drug addicts, the alcoholics, even the stress of trying to keep yourself away from that. You still got dragged into it because you separated yourself from it, so you made yourself a target. That's when he handed me the hub leaflet. So you should give them a call. So I did literally give the hub a call that same day when I got back, and answered the questions over the phone. There were a number of questions. Do I feel suicidal? Do I feel like harming myself? None of which I did, but there were some questions that were flagged that identified me as being suitable to a certain team, to one of the spokes on the hub, I suppose. And from there it was, I think it was about a week until I actually had an initial assessment with Sharon, who actually came out to the hostel to see me to do the initial assessment. I'd pretty much become totally secular because I didn't want anyone to see me in that situation. I'd had ambitions to get out of the hostel, so I'd started saving for certain items, certain white goods, a fridge, a cooker, my own bed. I remember Sharon's first reaction was, "You've got really good taste in decor," and she started asking me, just to break the ice I suppose, where I'd gotten most of the things from. And after that we started talking about the hostel. Let's just say that the people running the hostel weren't of the highest moral fibre. These were things that Sharon picked up on immediately as being wrong. But the most important thing for me was just that somebody was actually listening to what I was saying. It was like a weight off. After that, the rest came pretty easily. I could open up and tell her that, "Can you help me?" And what Sharon did was identify that that's not the case. You didn't bring this on yourself. We can help you. She assigned me Sarah. Sarah was pretty much of the same impression as Sharon. She saw me as an intelligent person, and she identified things that I could do. She set out certain goals, easily achievable goals. Like the first one, for example, was get myself registered on the housing list. At that point, I'd given up on that until, but Sarah identified that I was living in a hostel, I was epileptic, I had anxiety disorder, which was actually Sarah that flagged that up, which then led on to me going back to the GP and the GP actually diagnosing anxiety disorder. Going back a couple of steps, it was like every week Sarah would come round. She would say, "I want you to do this," and it was just somebody saying, or just somebody giving you something to do. I couldn't wait for the next challenge and the next task. It became my mission to get myself out of the hostel. Eventually building enough points on the council's housing waiting list to actually come out and view flats. That happened in the space of a few months of Sarah coming on board. So it seemed suddenly that everything was achievable, everything was obtainable. Then you can get out of this, just giving me the incentive. What Sarah did was spin that around and say, you've gotten yourself to this stage, but now you can get yourself out of this, which brought me to actually getting out of the hostel and having my own place, which just the simple things. I mean, this might sound really, really stupid, but one of the first things I did when I actually got my flat was I walked around it. I kept walking from room to room and opening and closing the doors and going from room to room and kept doing it because for 7 years I'd lived in one room, and I must have done this for about half an hour because it took that long to actually sink in that all of this was now mine. I had this space. That's when the shackles came off. I was back in society. I'd achieved what you'd call normality. So something as simple as decorating my own place, painting my own place. This sounds daft, but I actually smiled when I got my first bill because I'd paid it myself. I'd taken it. I still keep all of my own bills that are paid. This place was in a bit of a state, I'll admit. When I got here, the front garden, to say it was overgrown was an understatement. Another thing that the esteemed team, particularly Sarah, helped me with was establishing links again, particularly with my family, for the very obvious reason that I was in a hostile situation. I didn't want them to see me in that. I'd opened myself up to my brother and my mother and said, okay, I'm getting help now, and they were more than keen to help me get out of that situation. But because I'd blinkered myself to it and I thought, oh, no, they're just going to judge me for being in a hostel, and I'd assumed what they'd think, not what they actually thought. That was my biggest mistake. Stuart, my brother, actually drove me down here the first day I moved in to take before photographs of what the place looked like, and that felt great. Just me and my brother, just something as simple as me and my brother just walking around my new place, just being normal, just having a laugh, saying, what are you going to do with this? Oh my God, you've got it. He was actually quite jealous because the garden's 74 foot long, and he lives at the top. He lives in a penthouse at the top of a block of flats in Wolverhampton. He hasn't got a garden.
It may sound blindingly obvious to say this, but we are human beings. Our physical and emotional health problems just don't come packaged neatly. So we need the right help when our important relationships are breaking down, or when we've been out of work for a year with no prospect of finding another one. When the bullying at work starts to remind us of the torment of the abuse we suffered growing up, or when we've just had a heart attack and fear we might not live to see our grandchildren. How do we deal with our emotional and mental health problems in the diverse communities which make up Birmingham society? Do we feel bad because we really should be able to cope? Blame someone else? Allow someone else to take the strain? Focus on tomorrow? And what about when we do summon up the courage and overcome the stigma to ask for help? What do we actually get? One of the new elements that we've introduced in the Wellbeing Hub has allowed for children and young people's emotional and mental health needs to be assessed and to be supported in a timely and non-stigmatising manner. Appointments can be offered and take place in a variety of places, whether it be at the GP surgery, their school, some other community setting, or where appropriate at home. As a practitioner, it's been great to be part of such an innovative pilot, which brings emotional and mental health wellbeing provision right to the heart of primary care.